Hey everybody, Tim here, and this is a series of mini lessons that we're going to do based on some very important musical subjects. So the first couple are going, or actually the first few, going to be about the different types of scales there are. So you may be looking at this first one, how to, play the major scale, and maybe saying, oh, I already know how to play the major scale, I already know the formula. You've already made a video on that, so what gives? So this is just the first in a series of videos. This will be the one. I'm just starting here basically as it's a good place to start with. So even though you probably know what a major scale is, you want to see this video just in case there's anything you missed. And if there isn't, look forward because there's going to be 3 more videos just on the minor scale talking about things I've probably not talked about or gone in depth before about each minor scale, if you know that there's 3 of those. But anyway, let's just get started from square one with the major scale and see what we have going on today. So what is a major scale? A major scale is a series of notes. It's usually made of 8 notes from one starting from one letter. Like say if you start from C, you're going to play from C up to the next C and some notes in between. But we're going to talk about really what makes up the major scale, its formula. But first we're going to review whole steps and half steps, which is this slide. So a half step is the smallest amount of movement on a piano. So that's like moving from C to C sharp, or from D to D sharp, or from E to where? Not F sharp, because that's actually a whole step. So you have to be careful with half steps because between B and C and E and F, there's no black key in there. So therefore E sharp is F and B sharp is C. Same thing if you're going down the other way. If you're talking about F flat, you're really, the note is really E on the piano. And then if you're talking about C flat, the note is really B on the piano. But same thing, so from A to A flat is going to be a half step. Moving down all half steps would look and sound like that. And all a whole step is when you put 2 half steps together. So question, what is a whole step above E? Take a second to think about it. It's not F, because that's only a half step. You need to go up to F sharp. So from E to F sharp is a whole step. What's a whole step above F sharp? Well, a whole step above F sharp is going to be G sharp. So a lot of you probably know about this already, but I just wanted to review it real quick because, like I said, you got to start from somewhere. So now we're going to talk about the formula. The major scale is made up of a certain combination of whole steps and half steps, which we just talked about. Using this formula, you can create a major scale built on any note. So any note on the piano, you'll be able to play a major scale if you know this formula. The formula is, so you start on your note, say we're starting on C. The formula is you move a whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, and then half step. Now it's imperative or very important to start on the note you want to start with. So say we have the key of D, or we're going to play the D major scale. Well, you want to play D first before you start counting any steps. If you play the first note and count it as a whole step, that'll throw the whole thing off and your scale will be no good. So you want to play the note you're starting on first, and then you want to say, okay, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. Starting from F. You play F first, and then you go whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. And then you can go back down. The formula to go descending is just reverse. So it's half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step. And learning your major scales is very important because you will often find songs that have scalar passages in them or portions of scales in them. So it's always important to know your major scales. It will also help you know what notes are included in that key. So for instance, if you're talking about the key of G major, well, if you can play the G major scale, then you understand all of the notes that exist within that scale. So for instance, if you play an F in G major, well, that would have to be some kind of borrowed chord, or that note just does not belong. We call that non-diatonic when it does not belong in the key. If it belongs in the key, we call that diatonic. So it's important to know your major scales because then you'll understand what notes fit into that key and what notes don't. Now, obviously, there's minor scales. Like I said before, there's 3 types of those, which the next few videos will be about. And then after that, there's a bunch of modes that we'll go over real quick anyways, and I'll teach you about those. So anyway, look forward to many more videos like this. One more slide it looks like we have sound of a major scale. So one more point I want to mention is that the major scale sounds bright and happy compared to the minor scale. And the major scale sounds a bit brighter and happier. So you can pick out a major scale right away if it sounds bright, if it sounds kind of sad and dark, then it's probably in a minor key, although it could be in a mode. As many of you may not know yet, I haven't made any videos on modes, so look forward to those. So even though you may know the major scale, look forward to the future videos and see what they have to offer. So anyway, let's bring it back to me like I always like to do at the end. So anyway, that concludes the lesson today. Remember, the major scale sounds bright and happy. It's made up of a series of whole steps and half steps, which is whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, and then the last one is a half step. I suggest you practice using that formula starting on any note of the piano. Like if you want to play an A flat scale, remember that you're going to play A flat first, and then you're going to count whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, and then half step. And then you can do it in reverse and try it that way. Another good way of playing a major scale, I want to mention, as many of you may have known if you've seen my music theory videos, is that if you know the key signature, like say you're playing the G major scale, if you have the key of G memorized in your brain, the key of G major that has 1 sharp, F sharp, when you're playing the scale, all you got to worry about is that you're going to play G to G and all the notes in between, except you just got to be careful that instead of playing F, you'll play F sharp. So that goes with any key. Like if you're in the key of A major, if you know what 3 sharps there are, you can do it that way too. But knowing the formula is pretty important, just knowing that it's a combination of whole steps and half steps, and then you can make a major scale even if you don't know your key signatures built on any note. So anyway, that concludes the lesson for today. Look forward for more. Like I said, we're going to go over the minor scales in a little bit more detail than I have in the past, and then we're going to go over some modes, and we'll see where we go from there. So anyway, thanks as always for listening. By the way, swing by my website, lessonsontheweb.com, to check out what I have to offer. I have an online music academy there. Now, it isn't free, but I think, and a lot of other people think, it's plenty worth it. But go over there and check it out. If not, stay tuned for some of the smaller content that I put out here on YouTube. You get a little bit at a time on YouTube, and not quite as in depth, or not nearly as in depth in some cases. So go to lessonsontheweb.com and check it out. Also on lessonsontheweb.com, I have an awesome YouTube gallery in which you can find a lot of, now it's not 100% complete, it's almost there, of all the printable sheet music that I have included with these lessons. So if you're looking for those, head on over there. So thanks as always for listening, and I'll see you for the next lesson. Thank you.